The tale opens with a young man narrating his story. He embarks on a journey of reincarnation to a new life after dying in his past life due to a divine being's mistake. He jests about his interest in the divine being of reincarnation, referring to her as a beautiful woman. He expresses sadness because he will lose every memory of her in his new life, thus forgetting her beautiful face. His voice resounds with excitement as he mentions his careful consideration of the skills he intends to begin his new life with. His life and his old memories are all exchanged at a valuable price. He refers to himself as Kelvin and advises himself to have fun in the new world. Suddenly, he lands in the forest with a mighty thud. A rabbit, 2 slimes, and a bear run out of their sheds after hearing the loud thud to see the young guy lying at the base of a tall tree. Kelvin regains consciousness from the fall and stands feeling a slight headache and questions his whereabouts. Unexpectedly, a brown menu appears before him. Having lost his memory of his previous life, he confusingly asks questions that seem unclear to him. He queries if he is dead or in a different world. The menu displays a Start Adventure button, and he carefully presses it. A female's voice screams out loudly from the menu. She refers to him as my lord, and congratulates him for being chosen randomly to be reincarnated while she revolves around him. The menu informs him he no longer possesses memories from his past world, but he consented to the reincarnation. Shocked and confused about the situation, he blames his pre-incarnation self for making a ridiculous situation. The menu convinces him he is in a fantasy world full of clashing blades and magic. She shows him the menu to his status on the skills he specially selected before his reincarnation. Kelvin marvels at the sight of his stat skills. He is at level 1, but has skills of a way higher level. He is in the Summoner, the highest class rank that exists for adventurers. His agility is 3, his magic ability is 5, and his luck is 4. His special skills are summoning, green magic, and appraising eyes. He is impressed with his old self for choosing a dedicated support type status, and he apologizes for being skeptical at first. The menu advises him to begin his adventure by going to a guild in the town nearest to the forest. She urges him to register in the guild as an adventurer to create easier contract access. On their way to the city, Kelvin questions the menu on her adventure plans, if she would be embarking on it or not. She giggles and shows him his stats. The stats show her name to be Melfina, and her age is 1276 years. He, however, cannot read her full stats record until he reaches her appraising eye rank. She claims she has never had to do a servant's duty being the divine being of reincarnation, so he has to take responsibility for requesting her presence in his past life. He criticizes himself yet again. While walking through the city, they have mind conversations about his reincarnation story. Through Melfina's help, he records that he died in an accident caused by the mistake of a supreme being. The divine being requested Melfina's intervention in the case, and she agreed. He quotes Melfina's words that he fell in love with her at first sight, and requested they make the contract after he got his skills. Melfina excitedly says she agreed to the contract because she loves him and needed a break from her job after working for many years. They continue their conversation about his past life, and Kelvin burns red in embarrassment for his decisions. Melfina announces their closeness to the guild called the Adventurers Guild. In a short time, they enter the building. The guild is busy with receptionists attending to adventurers' requests. Kelvin walks over to a receptionist and registers as an adventurer. He fills his class rank with a low-class rank, the Green Mage, according to Melfina's idea to prevent himself from getting exposed as a summoner, which is a rare rank. He says he wants to enjoy his freedom in the world he is in. The receptionist returns with a membership card for him and runs him through the terms of the rank, which is the F rank. She explains that he has the chance to take a job for a rank 1 step higher than his current rank, but he will pay a penalty if he fails the job. He gets 3 job offers, and Melfina advises him to select the adventure of defeating 3 blue slimes. She advises him to make a contract with it using his summoner skills. He takes the jobs and leaves the guild with a wooden rod. He walks closely in the forest and spots 3 slimes in the middle of the field. He approaches a slime to create his summoner contract. He charges to hit the slime without preparation, but he misses and gets hit consistently. Surprised by this, he studies the slime and moves faster. He successfully hits the slime and creates his contract. He names it Clotho, and he summons it to absorb other slimes. Clotho successfully absorbs 2 slimes while he kills 1 to complete his task. He returns to the guild and receives payment for completing his first adventure. While searching for the inn recommended by Ange, the receptionist, he spots a slave trader between 2 buildings with bidders around. In the cage, 2 slave ladies are sitting in sadness, a normal girl and a half-blood elf girl. Kelvin observes for a minute and walks away. He finally sees the inn called the Spirit Song. He walks in and greets the owner. He books a room and requests food. As he relaxes in his room, he wishes for a bath, but Melfina tells him only kings and mansions enjoy having baths in this world. He promises himself to have a house with a bath one day. He steps out later to eat his meal, and he gets excited at the aroma he perceives. Melfina begs him to work hard and summon her very quickly, so she can join him to eat delicious human meals. Kelvin sits at a table with dishes containing different meal options. He gulps his food very loudly and happily. He anticipates what climate and foe await him in this new world, while promising to use his summoner rank in the best possible way. Kelvin narrates his experience in his new world. He discusses the jobs he has taken on with Clotho, his new servant, and how they have been leveling up and plummeting their skill points. He decides to make the concealment rank B a goal for him, and intends to achieve that rank to be at peace with the world and himself. This episode begins with Kelvin in the Adventurers Guild. After taking several tough and demanding jobs, he receives a promotion to the Adventurer rank E from rank F. Agni congratulates him and expresses her worries when he accepts higher-ranking jobs without forming a party. Melfina comments on Kelvin's reasons for not forming a party. She says he is on an extra-tight protection leash and does not want his identity to be exposed. Two young adventurers sitting at the far back of the guild stare at Kelvin enviously, and they query his promotion. Some other adventurers in the guild gossip about him, and they assume he is a mage from another kingdom. Agni, the receptionist, inquires if Kelvin is a court mage because he possesses extraordinary strength for a beginner. He replies to her and explains he does not have much information to disclose about his past. She warns him to tread carefully in his next job. Kelvin appreciates her concern, and he requests a rank D job. A voice erupts from the back of the reception and suggests that Kelvin take a Black Ghost Knight job. A young guy strolls out, and Ange, immediately recognizing him, calls out his name and welcomes him back from his adventure. He introduces himself as Cashel and boasts of just concluding a rank C job while at a rank D level. Comments erupt from other adventurers in the guild about him. They claim he is as good as a rank B adventurer, but he likes picking on new adventurers like Kelvin to intimidate them. Cashel invites Kelvin to join his search party to hunt for the Black Ghost Knight. Ange cuts into the conversation sharply and tries to dissuade Cashel from proceeding with the offer. Cashel discards her opinion and continues with his offer. Kelvin speaks up and rejects his offer, but Cashel persists in his invitation. He uses his appraisal eyes to read his stats, and he discovers that Cashel possesses high stats with worrisome skills and a murderer title, which does not seem right to him. Following his stats, Kelvin realizes Cashel will persist, so he provides a counteroffer. He asks for a competition to see who will defeat the knight first. Cashel, surprised by his confidence, accepts the offer but proposes to continue with his party, while Kelvin agrees to go solo. Cashel leaves, and Kelvin relates his plan to enter Cashel's trap intentionally. He says he wants to satisfy his curiosity about the fight party and also display the skills he gained from leveling up and training. Cashel walks down a quiet street to meet with his party. His party teammate Gimel warns that Kelvin might be a stronger contender than they expect, as his appraisal eyes are rank C concealed, and he cannot seem to read the newbie, Kelvin's stats. Cashel, surprised by the information, says he thought he was just a reckless newbie. The last party member, Raj, a very muscular and angry human, seeks Cashel's permission to crush him. Cashel says they should act like good veterans to him instead. Raj says being gentle is too complicated, and Cashel smirkingly urges him to proceed with the violence for his entertainment. The next scene shows the wicked spirit castle of the Black Ghost Knight. Cashel and his team storm in to find all the undead monsters defeated. Kelvin sneaks out of the shadows and welcomes Cashel and his party. Cashel notices the verdant staff with Kelvin and finds out he is a green mage. Gimel labels him an idiot for concealing his real status, but revealing his identity through the staff. Kelvin reminds them about the Black Ghost Knight at the other end of the room. Cashel, in a mockery tone, says Kelvin has been waiting for their help to take the knight out because he is scared to proceed alone. Kelvin disregards his statement and says he does not want distractions, so he proposes finishing them before proceeding with the knight. Gimel assumes he is a bounty hunter and has come to fight them for the bounty on their heads, which explains his high concealment rank. Kelvin, unaware of the bounty, says he is just in luck since they approached him first. He challenges Raj and provokes him with an annoying name. Raj, furious at his statement, runs towards Kelvin to attack him. Unfortunately, he gets stuck in a mud vine trap prepared by Kelvin. Cashel, now expressing worry, says Kelvin is using the concealment skill perfectly, which seems strange. Kelvin attacks them with a strike. Gimel tries to flee, but Kelvin summons Clotho, now a giant slime Glutonia, to prevent him from fleeing. Clotho stops Gimel and flings him against the wall. Raj successfully jumps out of the mud vine, but Clotho straps him around with his tentacles. Cashel runs to attack Kelvin, but Kelvin strikes him hard, and he falls. Kelvin has all three of them bound with the intention to hand them over to the guild. Kelvin opens the door, where he sees the Black Knight ghost standing. He reads his stats and finds his features are distinctive. Kelvin changes his mind about defeating him, and instead proposes to make a contract with him and add him to his party. The Black Knight questions him, and Kelvin introduces himself. He also states his intention to make a contract with him. The two of them sit at the staircase to the throne, and the knight expresses his surprise at his requests, claiming people usually start a fight with him. The knight narrates a lengthy story about his past, and how he transformed from his human form to his current form. Kelvin gets tired and confused by his lengthy talk and requests his opinion about the contract again. The knight says he cannot accept the options without a challenging reason. Kelvin then challenges him to a fight, and he agrees. The knight and Kelvin fight against each other intensively. Kelvin, with the help of Clotho, defeats the knight eventually. The next day, Kelvin delivers a fragment of the knight's armor to the guild, and everyone clamors around him in excitement. They thank him for ridding them of Cashel and his evil party. In the cell, Cashel and his party get a death sentence possibility. People celebrate at the guild, and Agni tells Kelvin he will be promoted to another rank. As Kelvin walks home, Gerald teases him about Agna, and Melfina calls herself his fiancée in his mind, but he shuts them up about it. He climbs up and notices a middle-aged man on the stairway expecting his return. The scene begins with a flashback of Kelvin with the Black Ghost Knight Gerald. He submits to him after his defeat, and Kelvin makes a contract with him. He expresses sympathy for Gerald's loss of his family and country. Kelvin stares at the older gentleman on the stairs, awaiting his return. The man finally speaks, and he teases Kelvin, declaring the day a perfect adventure day for him. Kelvin, on track with his teasing, conveys his interest in embarking on another adventure immediately. The man laughs and commends his enthusiasm towards work, but advises that he needs leisure. He identifies him as the Guildmaster and calls him out. The Guildmaster introduces himself properly and affirms the reason for his popularity through his smart deception. He questions if he is from another world. Kelvin, in fear of being exposed, employs his appraisal eyes to observe the Guildmaster's stats. He discovers he possesses an appraisal eye level that beats his level and can deploy his stats easily. Kelvin and the Guildmaster are both seated in the lounge. The Guildmaster discusses the news he received from Ange on Kelvin's battle with Cashel and the Black Ghost Knight. He questions Kelvin about his summoner class. Kelvin, in a confused state of mind, blames himself for his carelessness in exposing his identity and listens to his servant's advice to reveal himself. Kelvin criticizes the Guildmaster for having high-level appraisal eyes, but leaving criminals like Cashel untouched. The Guildmaster explains that Cashel originates from a foreign noble home in the militant nation of Trison, and he has limited power to restrict him without enough proof. He claims to have been making preparations and was close to unraveling his deeds and taking action until Kelvin entered the grand picture. Kelvin asks him to get to the point of his visit, and he says he wants to extend his friendship to him and not come as his enemy. He mentions having friends from another world in the past just like him. They were tagged as the heroes of Daramus, and Melfina recollects their reincarnation. Kelvin asks Melfina for the details, and she promises to explain in a better situation. The Guildmaster informs him that the Demon King is coming to destroy the people, according to a prophecy of the Supreme Being announced by the Priestess of Daramus. He assumes the strength and violence of other monsters are in tune with the coming of the Demon King. He attributes his strength to Gerald during Kelvin's fight for the revival of the Demon King. He seeks Kelvin's help to defeat him and protect the city from his attack. He offers an automatic level up to a high rank, efficient payment, and freedom despite being a summoner-class adventurer after the job's completion. The Guildmaster further informs him that he has a special rank, and that he has to push him to the top to prevent other forces from adopting his skills. Kelvin accepts the offer, and they shake hands. The next morning, the inn owner celebrates his promotion to a rank B adventurer with excitement, and promises a celebration with a good dinner. Gerald teases him again about the inn owner, but Melfina reacts out of jealousy, and calls herself his fiancée. Kelvin stops them from teasing further. Settling in his room, he questions Melfina about the reincarnation she performed. She expounds that the Priestess of Daramus performed the summoning, and her duty was to source for the humans involved in the reincarnation. Kelvin, while comparing the Guildmaster's words, realizes Melfina does not understand the impact of reincarnation. He finishes his meal and tries to sleep, but he recollects his intense battle with Gerald. He summons Clotho and demands the reward money in its inventory. Clotho displays the money, and Kelvin praises its inventory skills. Kelvin demands the inn owner, Claire, to set aside another plate for the celebration dinner. He walks down the street with the reward money, and he reveals to his servants his intention to purchase a slave girl. He explains to them that he requires the skill point of a slave girl who is without a master. He arrives at the slaver's domain, and sees a man burning after having physical contact with the half-blooded elf girl. He recognizes her from the last time he saw her. He reads her stats and discovers her skill points are intact, but he will require a sacred bless spell from a white magic, rank A user to break the curse. He walks away from the slave trader and finally returns at the close of the day to purchase her. He pays the slave trader, and they leave together. She stops him halfway and appreciates him for his gesture. She introduces herself as a Phil and narrates her slavery story. She mentions she has been a slave since she was born. Kelvin makes his request for her to join his party, but she refers to her fire dragon curse, and she says she doesn't want to hurt anyone. He breaks her free from the force after purchasing a rank A class using his last skill points. She weeps in gratitude and kneels before before her master. Melfina makes her usual comment and says, Kelvin can possess the elf girl until he has enough MP to summon her. He teases her in return and gives her accolades for her good heart. Kelvin and Aphil make an entrance into the inn. The inn owner sights them, and they extend greetings. Kelvin requests from Claire that Aphil should be properly dressed for dinner. Claire, the inn owner, agrees to his demands and sweeps her off into the room. He waits tirelessly for Claire and Aphil to return, tossing and turning endlessly while feeling famished. Finally, they both come in, and Kelvin is shockingly amazed at Aphil's transformation. He stays speechless for a while before he speaks and commends her beauty. She worships him again for his gesture and benevolence as her master. She promises to do her best for him. They finally eat their meal, and Aphil cries with excitement. The briefing process starts, and Kelvin introduces her to all his servants. He informs her of his rank as a summoner. He transfers his skill set to her to follow through and urges her to keep his information a secret. At night, he gets troubled by sleeping on the bed with her because of the absence of vacant rooms. He attributes his distraction to her extreme cuteness as he lies down again. The last scene shows a red-haired lady in captivity of a mighty capturer. Kelvin narrates his experience working with Aphil and how they have been leveling up and taking jobs together. He says she used up all her skill points on archery and far-seeing, and she learned sewing when she leveled up. She recreates the maid outfit Claire gave to her. Kelvin also mentions he took a blacksmithing skill and is still practicing. The combination of Aphil's high-level archery skill, red magic, and the fire dragon skill gives her amazing fighting skills and commends her. The next scene shows Kelvin in the guild, delivering the evidence of his recently completed job. Agni celebrates his consistency, and Aphil gets excited about her master's next promotion to a rank A adventurer. Kelvin shows empathy for the way Aphil hit an arrow on her opponent's head in her last rank exam. Agni invites Aphil to go out with her on a date, and she agrees. Aphil extends the invitation to Kelvin, hoping he won't reject her. Agni teases him to accept her offer, and he agrees to go out the next day. Aphil's face beams with joy at his acceptance. The next day, Kelvin is at the sweet shop waiting for Aphil and Agna. He imagines the date and gets bothered about how Melfina would react if she was around. Luckily, she is at the Divine Oracle Temple. Agni interrupts his thoughts as she calls out his name loudly, and runs to meet him. He compliments her outfit. Agni asks about Aphil, and he says she would take her time. In a short time, Aphil announces her presence as she appears, looking beautiful in a lovely gown. Kelvin, dumbfounded by her beauty, becomes speechless when Aphil seeks their opinion on her dress. Agni taps him out of his serenade, and they both compliment her. At the sweet shop, Aphil offers to feed Kelvin in public, but he declines. 3 young men see them and become envious of Kelvin, with the 2 most popular and beautiful women eating together. Agni gets jealous of Aphil's gesture to Kelvin, and she offers her own. Kelvin refuses the 2 of them and begs them to stop. In the twinkle of an eye, a short prince with 2 guards disrupts their table, and their conversation halts. The bodyguard asks Kelvin to kneel and introduces the man as the Prince of Trison, a big military county to the east. The bodyguards propose to teach Kelvin a lesson for disrespecting him. The prince requests the 2 girls in exchange for his forgiveness. The guards try to move close to them, but Kelvin attacks them and throws them against the wall. The prince, now in fear, kneels before Kelvin and confesses that he came to meet Leo at the guild, and he wants the powerful adventurer in the city to serve him so his people will believe in him. Kelvin frees them and leaves with the 2 girls. In the Divine Temple, a young girl whose name is Colette prays to the statue of Melfina and seeks her. Melfina's statue glows and greets her. She asks about the hero's well-being and shows her their growth, which impresses Melfina. Colette requests a new oracle to defend them from an evil she is sensing from the western continent. Melfina grants her wishes and tells her to send her heroes there, but instructs her to keep them away from Parth. She concludes her statement by counting on her and calls her the Princess of Daramis. The 4 heroes storm in to meet the princess, and she tells them of the new oracle. In Kelvin's room, Ethel wakes him up and thanks him for saving her. He apologizes for still sleeping in the same room. He claims Claire refused to lease out another room for unknown reasons. Ethel turns to him in tears and asks him if he is not attracted to her. Kelvin says she is attractive, but she should only do things with the person she loves. She confesses to loving him, and he assures her she is the most attractive girl he knows. Ethel hugs him in excitement. The next morning, Kelvin, Slime, and Gerald view the stats menu of the heroes with the help of Melfina. Clotho displaces part of its body to Ethel's shoulder to help her connect to the servants' network. Gerald comments that the heroes do not have strong levels and skills. Kelvin queries what they have been up to since the 1 year of their summation. Melfina expresses her disappointment and applauds Kelvin and the party for their growth. Kelvin praises his blacksmithing skills, while Gerald mocks him for having many failed attempts. Ethel shows off the suit she made for Kelvin with her sewing skills, and Melfina expresses her desire for Deramis's heroes to be as strong as them. Claire interrupts their discussion and bangs on the door. She announces that the guild is requesting Kelvin. In the guild master informs him of a demon found in the Hermit's Cave by adventurers. Melfina agrees with him and says demons are the strongest races alongside dragons. He requests his help to defeat the demon with his S-rank title since its strength is unknown. The guildmaster diverts the conversation and informs Kelvin of the circulating news about the issue with the Prince of Trison. He uses the situation as blackmail and says he is having a tough time cleaning up the mess to avoid the case from becoming an international incident with Trison. He returns on track and asks Kelvin if he will take the job, and Kelvin accepts immediately, calling him the real demon in his mind. At the Hermit's Cave, Kelvin walks in with his party, and he sees other adventurers present. The adventurer feel hurt during the exam, walks up to them and hails them. Kelvin questions the situation, and tells him a barrier has been placed on the cave. Kelvin instructs the other adventurers to stay outside while he walks into the cave with his party. They walk through the cave for a long time, until they find a door. Kelvin senses 2 lives and directs his servants to attack the stronger life first. They open the door and walk into the hideous sight of skulls on the ground. A girl with red hair is chained to 2 mighty metallic poles. They spot a figure in armor who introduces himself as the archdemon Victor. Kelvin calculates his rank as a very high rank, and he smirks. They demand the girl's identity, and he identifies her as the daughter of the demon king, Gustavo, whose existence was kept a secret. The archdemon says he intentionally set a trap for a powerful human being to come into the cave so he can eat him and absorb his powers. He needs the powers to break the girl free from the chains. He attempts to attack Kelvin, but Gerald immediately defends him with a shield. The archdemon claims he was an aide to the former demon king, and he makes his intention to eat the demon king's daughter known, so he can automatically become the next demon king. Kelvin displays his excitement about finally meeting with an S-rank opponent. The archdemon, seeing Kelvin's excitement, awakens the dead monsters in the room, claiming Kelvin and his party are outnumbered. He controls the monsters and charges them to attack the team. Kelvin applies the wind-shot attack on the monsters and destroys them. Gerald and Ethel fight the monsters with their distinctive abilities. The archdemon stands and watches the synergy between Kelvin and his servants. He commends their teamwork within himself. After they defeat the monsters, Kelvin approaches the archdemon and challenges him personally. The archdemon uses a smoke bomb to distract them, and he tries to attack them from underneath the ground, but Kelvin senses his movements, and they defend themselves. He succeeds in hitting Gerald, but Kelvin sends Clotho to stop his movement for a minute, while he attacks him with another spell. The archdemon, being very strong, breaks free from the spell, but they attack him with another spell. Ethel shoots a fire arrow from behind, and Gerald attacks him with a sword absorbed with a spell. He cuts off the left arm of the archdemon. He says Kelvin is the second person who has damaged him that much, and his age has dulled with the era's peace. Kelvin asks if he wants to give up, but the archdemon says he has just started. They retreat, and he changes his form into an eerie demon look. He tries to cast a spell, but they attack him with different skills and techniques non-stop. He tries to attack them again, but Gerald defends them and gets injured by the archdemon, who counters his defense. Ephil shoots her arrow against him consistently, and Clotho releases a load of swords and metals from Kelvin's failed blacksmith world. The archdemon gets weak from the attack and cannot fight easily again. They send their last individual attacks on him, and he collapses heavily into the building, affecting the whole structure. A large round brick falls from the building, about to collapse on the girl, and the archdemon rushes to prevent it. Kelvin sees this and gets a confused picture. The archdemon falls weakly, and they walk toward him. Kelvin questions his real intention for fighting them, and the archdemon tells the truth about the girl. He says he is the girl's protector, and has been protecting her for years since she was born. The Demon King kept his daughter hidden to prevent his enemies from using her against him. The Demon King was attacked in his castle by the hero who destroyed the city and everything. Before the Demon King died, he had put a seal on her to prevent her from being touched by a monster or evil creature, so she stayed for years. Only a powerful human can break the seal. The Archdemon says he has been protecting the princess for years for the day the hero would appear so he can be defeated and she would be crowned the next Demon King. The Archdemon, in his dying state, begs Kelvin to free her from the spell and invite her to his party. Kelvin asks if he would like to be his servant so he can be healed, but the Archdemon rejects the offer. Kelvin walks up to her and breaks the seal. She wakes up from her deep slumber with her horn and wings, and criticizes her father and the Archdemon on their unwise decision while she cries on his arm. They all leave the cage, and Kelvin carries the girl on his back. The other adventurers see them, and hurries to meet them. Ethel presents the proof of the Archdemon's defeat to and tells him to appraise it at the guild. He asks questions about the girl. With her horns and wings disguised by magic her father used, Kelvin finds it easy to give a convincing lie about her personality. They leave everything to the adventurers and leave the cave. Kelvin heals Gerald, who is badly hurt, from the fight with the Demon King. He evolves, and he resummons himself. Kelvin notices a difference in Gerald's appearance, and his stats increase rapidly. Clotho, encountering a few attacks on his shield during the battle, got his shield broken. His shield gets repaired, and Eiffel notices how strong he has become. Kelvin mocks Gerald for being big-mouthed after his healing, but acting weak when he sustained injuries. He notices the princess's quietness and approaches her. She questions his decision to risk inviting a demon's daughter as his servant. She fears what people might say. Kelvin assures her he has S-rank concealment, and she will not be detected. He urges her to be comfortable, and asks them to go to the town beforehand. She expresses her nervousness as she has never been in a town and never left the mansion before. Eiffel assures her the people of Parth are nice, and they leave together. Kelvin and his servants walk into the town and pass through the market. Sarah, the Demon King's daughter, shouts in amazement as she sees different strange things in the market. She gets intuitive about the fruits, weapons, and different items she has never seen. Kelvin, seeing her new countenance, relaxes his mind and says he has been worried for nothing. He instructs Eiffel to take her to the inn. He heads out to the inn to make a report on his adventure. Kelvin gets promoted to a rank A adventurer. As he enters the inn, he meets a surprise party organized by Agni after getting the drift about his promotion. He notices that Eiffel is not fitting into the party easily. He joins in the celebration and everyone marry happily. After the party, everyone sleeps deeply from the marrying. Kelvin wakes up in the middle of the night and discovers Sarah is not in sight. He stands up to go find her, and he sees her sitting outside alone soliloquizing. Eiffel starts a lonely conversation with the dead Victor. She says she likes the new world, and would like to see the sea as he had explained to her when she was younger. She storms off to go find the sea on her own, while Kelvin stays in hiding, watching her. The first scene unveils Kelvin's story of signing the contract with Eiffel and making her his servant. He welcomes her to the party, and she appreciates him. Kelvin is in his room at the inn with his servants, and he boasts about the S-rank level of his blacksmithing skills. He builds an armor for Sarah with fragments of Victor's armor as she requested. She says she wants to feel him along her side whenever she fights. Eiffel names her armor the Queen of Terror, and Sarah indicates her likeness for the name. Kelvin reveals the magic Daneslife sword he invents for Gerald with the S-rank skill. Eiffel demands to know their weapons skill set, and he assures them it will be exhibited in their next fight. Kelvin dispatches the conversation. Eiffel requests Kelvin's food desire, and he demands rice, which is a very strange food in Parth. They question what rice is, and he explains the special feeling of eating rice to them. The next day, Kelvin, Eiffel, and Sarah embark on a trip for Sarah to be more informed about the world and to get Kelvin's food desires. He makes promises to Sarah about going fishing. He says they are headed to the water country of Toraj. The country has a rice-like plant, and he has always wanted to go. Gerald cuts his thoughts short and queries him about Melfina's whereabouts. He explains that his inability to surmount Melfina is due to her divine class rank, and this has subjected her to finding an alternative to resurrection. She intends to seek out her avatar to repossess it. The avatar, in her words, is very beautiful compared to other girls. She takes a vacation, and she flies off. While still on their way, Sarah jumps at Kelvin excitedly and requests to ride a boat. Eiffel, sitting beside Kelvin, jealously diverts Kelvin's attention back to herself. Gerald and Clotho, seeing their actions, tease silently about why the princess had to take action silently. Sarah announces that she feels they are being watched. Suddenly, the carriage comes to a halt after a bunch of thieves jump out from the bushes where they have been hiding to stop them. They identify themselves as the Black Wind Crew. They are known to be the most notorious thieves in Toraj. Kelvin instructs Sarah and tells her to handle them. She steps out, and the gang leader, a young lady, offers to take her as a bounty. Immediately, someone attacks her, but Sarah punches him, and he flies off very fast. She attacks the other members of the crew, and they get shocked. Kelvin says Sarah's level is 75, so they don't stand a chance against her. They walk into the city, and Sarah spots the sea. She gets excited and asks Kelvin to teach her how to swim. Kelvin agrees, and they head out to the Adventurers Guild in Toraj. In this guild, Kelvin sits in the office of the guild master for Torah. She says she was in Leo's, the Parth's guild master, adventurer party 20 years ago. She says he has spoken well about him, and Kelvin is surprised at that statement, knowing how intense the guild master appears to be. The Black Master talks about the Black Wind Gang, and she explains the new team Black Wind Gang was once an adventure party that took down the old Black Wind. Eiffel and Sarah say they want him to take him down, but Kelvin mentions it is